Hi, I'm Sabrina Archuleta, and this is my presentation for the TV analysis project. I chose the show New Girl, and I did go with the pilot episode because they go through all of the emotions in just 23 minutes and 32 seconds. You can go through a lot at once, but when you have the right people behind you, you'll find the funny in any bad situation. Throughout the show, they have so many emotions that just bring them closer and closer every episode, but I decided to go with the pilot because they went from strangers to knowing they were going to be besties so quickly. Even if they didn't know they were going to be besties at the time, they were. The show is about a super awkward, quirky girl named Jess who lived with her boyfriend that happened to be cheating on her. She knows she needs to move out immediately, so she goes to live with her best friend, Cece. Cece happens to be a model. Jess is super quirky. They just weren't clashing. So she does what any sane person would do, and she finds an ad on Craigslist. She found some people to live with, and she went to go talk to them from the ad. And eventually she does go live with them, but they happen to be three men. She did not know they were men when she signed up, or when she read the ad. She said she thought it was all women, but these men have their own issues in the best way possible, of course. In the episode, Jess is going through a lot of emotions, considering everything, but they figure it out together. The four big stages of team development. Forming. When a group comes together, whether it be for a project or a friendship, this is when the relationship and dynamic of the group start to become one. Storming is considering the detrimental part of establishing the group's vibe, vibe per se, because this is when people begin finding their roles in the group, but this can lead to problems because some people can experience negative repercussions due to the roles that others were placed in, if that makes sense. Then we have norming. The group will now slowly start to come together. They will begin developing trust within one another. The flow of the group finally smooths out. And then lastly, we have preforming. Performing is when the magic finally starts to happen. The structure of the group feels secure, solid friendships begin, all their problems that they overcome or that they go through now are easily overcome because they know they can solve the problems together. Then we have group theories. Adaptability within the group is being able to adjust when things are thrown at them. Decision making is when they have to decide what's best for the group as a whole, not just for them, but working together to find solutions that work for everybody. And then we have problem solving. It's finding a problem, determining an issue, and implementing a solution together. And then lastly is communication, the act of working together to express their needs in any situation by working it out together through messages and talking with each other as a whole. Then we have forming in New Girl. In the beginning of the episode, the guys are even debating allowing Jess to live with them simply because she is a girl. No single guy wants to live with a sad single girl. Nonetheless, she moves in. She truly makes herself at home immediately, but they weren't about to have her there just crying, you know? She does live there though, and there isn't much they can do about it. So they try and make her the person they want her to be. You know, a friend, not just a crying girl on their couch. This is them. This is the group forming because she is living with them now. Storming in the episode. Anytime a group dynamic is starting, you'll begin to feel people falling into their place of their roles, if that makes sense. So we have Jess, who's our leader, who's causing problems unintentionally, but the boys seem to find a way to fix them because at the end of the day, they'll do anything for her. We have our team player, who is Nick, who's a stubborn hothead who can go one of two ways, thinking about what the majority wants or about what will make others feel better, if that makes sense. Schmidt is our coordinator. He makes the plans. He plans on seeing them out. He's very stuck in his ways, but he knows what he needs to do to take care of others around him because he does care at the end of the day. He's very stuck in his ways, but he'll get there. Lastly, we have Coach, who funny falls into the coach role. He'll hype them up until the end of the day. He doesn't let the vibe down. He knows what to say and what to do to fix any problem. Then we have norming in the episode. In this episode, we see Jess, who's sad after she got cheated on, living with strangers. Her life has been flipped around in front of her. Although she's a hot mess, the guys have their plans. They're set in their ways. Work, party, repeat. Just because Jess was ruining the vibe does not mean that they were going to let him stop her. So they did their very best to get her out of her funk. They found a date because she most definitely will not ruin their party by going with them. They got their flow back. They found a way to get her out of the house. This was clearly not a problem-solving situation, but they had their flow back. And then we have preforming. Jess gets ready for her date. The boys go out to party. Everything seems perfect until they get there. The worst of the worst for Jess happens. Nick sees who is supposed to be her date at the party. While Schmidt and Coach are living their best life, Nick decides he knows what the right thing to do is, and he confronts him. Finding out, Jess was stood up. He knows that this was the party of all parties. You know, his ex-girlfriend was there. That he had to be there. But he also knew Jess, their new roommate and new friend, was sitting at a restaurant all alone. He knows he has to convince the guys to fix what they started. They sing her when they get there. You know, they show up to the restaurant. They make her feel all better. They even sing her favorite comfort song from her favorite comfort movie because that's what she was crying about on the couch the whole week. But they did it for her to make her feel good. We see the bond become real. We see that they're able to help each other through the best and the worst times. Like it all just starts to come together. And then we have our group theories. We see adaptability in a group. When they see her having a really bad time, she brought the vibes down, but they made it perfect way for them to have the best of both worlds. Then we see decision making as a group when they left the party to make her feel loved because they realized they cared about her and she needed them just as much as they needed her at the end of the day. We see problem solving a couple times. One, when they problem solved her to find a date that they planned for because they wanted their night of all nights. Number 2 is when they leave their party for her to do what they all knew was best for their friend. And finally, we see communication because Jess was always showing her emotions to them. Later, we see them singing to her, telling her about they feel in front of everyone in this restaurant. So they also got to that like communication standpoint at the end. And then this was just the beginning, you know, like they're best friends. They need her just as much as she needs them. They just don't know that yet. But at the end of the day, now they'll have their backs just as much as she always is going to have theirs. Thank you.